I don't have to tell you that there would be no movement without the T. A lot of people have said that and continue to say that. But allow me to put a lay lim lay lur perspective on this conversation. Let's begin. For 15 years, I have been creating content, sharing, guiding, and telling stories and documenting the stories of Black, trans, and indigenous people. I started like in 2009 on YouTube. The reason why I started telling stories about the trans community is because so many of us were leaving this reality. People didn't know how gifted we were because all we was doing was doing drag shows, and we didn't really have a voice. Ones that I knew, because there's always been the stealth element. There's always been those of us who assimilated and hid in plain sight, but had to totally kind of like disassociate themselves from the community that was actively engaging in things that were necessary for survival. Because oftentimes when you don't fit into the box or the label that it was given to you at birth, spaces can be unsafe. You can be talked down to, belittled, made to feel like you are an abomination, like you are not loved by the Creator. And so a lot of times we find solace in places that are often considered to be depraved and debaucherous, where the subterfuge happens. Amen, a woman. That's what I find interesting about old school, because old school was when a lot of uncles were suppressing who they were, and they would get drunk and then they would diddle the children. The aunties, they would keep, their little whatever they had going on sexually, they would suppress it, and maybe even go and get married, live a loveless life, and be scissoring the best friend on the side. You might even bring the one that she was really in love with and had been scissoring into the bedroom with a husband to make it spicy. The gay guy that everybody knew was a woman in a male's body that would be directing the choir, but nobody ever said anything about it. And the choir director wasn't going to never admit it, even though it was as plain as the nose on my face. That's how I remember old school. So are we doing that? I remember how they really were good at doing a lot of vile things in the shadows. That's what I remember old school was. Old school gives me pick me energy. I'm the socially acceptable community.
Hi. I just want to say, in all these challenging times, you can count on me. I am an old school gay. Pick me. I'm the socially acceptable community. I'm running for office. This has proudly been sponsored by closeted gays trying to thrive in a MAGA administration. Thank you.
Some dogs you can't teach a new trick to. But the question becomes for me when I hear trans people and gay people say, I'm old school. Well, just how old school are you? Because I know what you mean when you say you're old school. You mean that it's gay, he or she. If you're gonna be trans, then you're gonna look like a woman, and we're gonna call you she. If you're gonna be trans, then you're gonna look like a man, and if we think you look, masculine enough, we'll call you he. If we think you look feminine enough, we'll call you she. Until we get mad at you. It wasn't that many. It was you was either a punk, you was a fag, you was a dyke, you was a stud. wasn't really a lot of room, wasn't really a lot of space to grow, to evolve, to metamorphose. But when you say you're old school, shouldn't that mean that you shouldn't be holding hands in public? You shouldn't be holding your man's hands in public? Because old school gays didn't do that. You shouldn't be kissing your man in public, kissing your girlfriend in public. Old gays subconsciously felt what they were doing was a sin. They were grateful to be accepted by the cis people, or what I like to call, or what we at Lay Lem Lay Lur like to call the halflings. They wanted the approval, and so they wouldn't do too much around them. Like, they respected these people to a degree that they diminished themselves and they hid parts of themselves. And when I say they hid parts of themselves, I mean that spiritually and physically. They hid parts of their selves, and they also hid the parts of their community that they felt like would not be accepted by the cis people or the halflings. If you're so old school, then go back to hiding the public displays of affection. Go back to not talking about your sex life. Go back to not lifting up your narratives. And go back to doing what you used to do at bathhouses. Go back to doing what you used to do at sex parties. Go back to doing what you were doing in the shadows at No Fast No Femmes parties and at gay clubs. Like it shouldn't be all over social media. It shouldn't be everywhere. Like, if you want to talk about old school, then let's make it all the way old school. But let's not create a space for you to flourish and thrive simply because you have socially acceptable pronouns and a socially acceptable identity. Throw the whole Grindr app away. Just throw it away. This goes for lesbians. This goes for bisexual people. This goes for gay men. Because you have a socially acceptable appearance and identity, then you can continue on with us seeing y'all kiss everywhere, y'all clacking nails, y'all doing the absolute, I'm cooking dinner for my man. But as long as the pronouns is he and him, everything is fine. As long as ain't nobody calling y'all they, them. Don't try to force a certain part of the community to reduce themselves or to shrink themselves for your comfortability while you continue just to be blowing up all over the internet. Y'all ain't being old school when it comes to pushing the boundaries at how you show up, because old school gays, old school lesbians, old school bisexual people didn't put their business all out for everybody to see. Their sex life, their marriage, what they cooking for their man. They didn't do that. That's not old school. And the point is, nobody's gonna do that. That's the point. Nobody's gonna do it. Just in case you didn't catch it. That's just in case you thought I was serious. Nobody's going back to where we were. We're moving forward. I hope everybody is on the car. The doors are closing and the car is moving. It's some days on here. It's some thems on here. It's some she's on here. It's some hers. It's some we's. With beards, untucked, claiming trans feminine spaces, with titties at the top and coochie at the bottom, claiming trans masculine spaces. And we all on this car, moving forward. We could take a little bit more off of the gays. We could take a little bit more. We understood it a little bit more coming from the old school gays, the old school punks, the old school bulldaggers, because we knew that they was hiding. We knew that they was in stealth too. But you not finna have us around here performing top-notch, grade A performative womanhood and top-notch, grade A performative manhood. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, y'all out here punking it out, waving pride flags when chaps with your ass out. No, we're not doing that. I want to make this perfectly clear. Y'all are not about to exile trans and non-binary people back to Mayberry with Barney Fife, Andy Griffith, and Aunt B. While y'all chant, this the kind of song that make a man love a man love a man, and twirl to Lil Nas X videos. We're not about to do it, Fed.